Evening. Welcome to the April 22nd, 2024 meeting of the East Penn School District Board of School Directors. Will you now please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm very excited to move into our first order of business tonight. It's a matter of student recognition. Dr. Campbell, would you like to have the honors of introducing?
Yes, we're really excited. I believe we have Ben Weezy with us this evening in the audience, so I invite you to come on up, Ben. Coming out to meet you. I'm not leaving it in alone. Congratulations. So I'm going to ask you to stand here with me. Ben is a senior at Emmaus High School, and we are so very proud of him because he is a finalist for the competition for National Merit Scholarship. And you might recall earlier this year, we recognized Ben as one of several semifinalists, and he was one of 16,000 semifinalists across the country. The National Merit Scholar has now gone through a very rigorous process to determine which of those 16,000 seniors across the country qualify or meet all the requirements to be eligible to be considered a finalist. And so Ben is one of only about 7,000 students across the country who is now considered a finalist and is eligible for several scholarships that are available to him. And so let's give Ben a huge round of applause. In addition to his outstanding academic performance, specifically through the National Merit Program, Ben has scored in the top 1% of SATs. He's a member of the National Honor Society here at Emmaus High School. He's a member of the German Honor Society, and he's consistently made Principal's Honor Roll. In terms of his extra and co-curricular activities, he's a member of Sinfonia and Chamber Orchestra, the theater program, our chess club, our academic team, and the physics club. He's also actively involved in our East Penn community. He volunteers through Boy Scouting, his church, and again, a lot of volunteer work through the National Honor Society. Next year, as he looks past Emmaus High School, he plans on pursuing a degree in the field of engineering. Have you limited down your choices yet?
Yes.
Okay. Did you make a final decision? Oh, where are you going?
Penn State.
So he's going to be a Penn State. Then we have a certificate to present to you, again, just to reiterate how very proud we are for your career here at East Penn. I know you've been a student at Macungie Elementary, Eyre Middle School, and now Emmaus High School. So many of your teachers feel very fortunate to have been a part of what's been such a great educational career.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That was probably my bad too. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, Ben, congratulations. And thank you also to your parents who are here this evening. We appreciate your support and sure you're very proud. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sincere congratulations on behalf of the board as well. And thank you for coming out tonight. Okay, as usual, every month, it's my pleasure to introduce the EHS Student Government Association report, tonight given by Ms. Patel and Ms. Samer.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. In athletic news, the track and field team had a meet today away against Freedom, and both the girls and boys won. There will be a JV meet on Wednesday at Parkland. Both the boys' baseball and the girls' softball teams played against Northampton today. The girls have a record of 13-3, and the boys have a record of 7-6. They will both face William Allen on Wednesday. The boys' tennis team had their combined senior and mentor night last week. Both the girls' and boys' lacrosse teams collaborated with Southern Lehigh to bring awareness to pancreatic and pediatric cancer during their games on Saturday. We are so proud of them for their teamwork and for helping to make a difference. The boys won their game and the girls took the draw. The boys' volleyball team beat CB West High School at home on Saturday and held their Youth Day event with IRE and LMMS. They will be playing Becca away tomorrow.
Thank you. And with club and organization news, our academic team earned third place at the IU academic competition. FBLA Club sent 25 amazing students to attend the state conference in Hershey, Pennsylvania. They all did fabulous, and the top 4 finishers from EHS will continue on to the national conference in Florida this June. The EHS Orchestra will have their spring concert on Tuesday, April 23rd. The band will have their spring concert on Tuesday, April 30th, and EHS Choir's spring concert will be on Thursday, May 9th. All of these performances will be at 7 p.m. Their hard work and dedication throughout the past school year will be evident in their final concert of the year. Emmaus High School Mud Club and National Honor Society hosted a special event titled Pottery Palooza. Students, faculty, and community members of all ages participated in a bowl decorating class. The event was really awesome and a great way to involve the community in Emmaus High School. The Interact Club partnered with the Emmaus Rotary Club to host a speech contest. Congratulations to all the students, they all did awesome. The winner was Emma De La Cruz, who moved to the next round this past April 6th. The Interact Club also helped collect over 350 books for the Lehigh Valley Health Partners. Amanda King took the lead on this amazing effort. The Groove Club hosted their first ever Emmaus High School Battle of the Bands competition. It was such a fun night. The robotics team will be competing on May 4th at Science Leadership Academy in Philadelphia. Despite the challenges they faced, like a snowstorm this past winter, which prevented them from competing for a spot at States, they continued working hard and perfecting their build. Lastly, the Earthwatch Club organized a pop-up prom shop after school and during lunches. They are selling secondhand prom dresses for a low price in order to promote sustainable shopping. They are donating their proceeds to the Wildlands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the report. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Well, again, thank you for keeping us up to date and all the great things going on at Emmaus High School. As usual, you're welcome to stay for the duration of the meeting. Otherwise, you may be excused for other pursuits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
All right, take care. Okay, next part of the meeting, a request to address the board. We have 9 this evening, but before I call people to the podium, I'd like to read the following statement. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with public comment, speakers should feel free to express their opinion, comment, or question, and understand that this is not an interactive engagement with the board or with the administration. Please direct your comments to the chair, be respectful, not engage in profane rhetoric, and be mindful that others, including students, may be listening. I would request that you consider that protocol when making your comments. For the members of the audience, please also be respectful and refrain from speaking during the public comment period. With that, I will now announce each speaker and their topic. When you step up to the podium, again state your name, and you will have 3 minutes within which to speak, and I will give you a 30-second warning. Okay, our first requester tonight is Gemma Kennedy on the topic of girls wrestling.
Hello, I'm Gemma Kennedy, an 8th grader at IRE Middle School. I didn't know exactly what to expect when joining wrestling. At first, I thought I would end up not liking it because it was nothing like any other sports I've played before. But thanks to the amazing coaches and extremely supportive teammates, wrestling quickly became one of my favorite sports. Emmett Ray, an author, said, "Everyone has the fire, but the champions know when to ignite the spark." The team became a second family to me. Everyone was always ready to help out. There were countless times I needed help, and everyone was non-judgmental and helpful. Wrestling taught me so many important lessons that'll stick with me for the rest of my life. The most important lessons I've learned was to never give up. Obviously, that's something everyone has probably been told before, but I never actually went through with it or believed it. There were so many times this season I wanted to quit and give up just because of a few bad matches, but I kept pushing and kept getting better and ended up loving the sport. I learned from my mistakes and that every loss leads to growth. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our next requester is Stavros Marangos to talk about band community appreciation.
Hello. My name is Stavros Marangos, and I'm a junior at Emmaus High School and a drum major for our marching band. I'm here today to bring attention to the wonderful work done by some passionate members of our musical community in East Penn. 2 weeks ago, as many of you may know, the East Penn Musical Instrumental Musicians Club, or EPIMC, held a jazz festival here in the high school. 8 middle school bands from the Eastern PA area participated in the festival. It was a way for middle school students to display their skills as well as see the high school jazz band perform. The event raised over $4,500 to supplement the band department budget. Events like these are extremely important for the development of band programs, since they give young students a glimpse into the potential future of their musical careers. By giving kids in our area an image of what is to come, the district gains an opportunity to entice students to join our arts programs. Events like these give students an opportunity to truly develop a passion for the field of arts and give our community a chance to see the amazing things being done in our schools. As one of around 30 volunteers at the festival, I witnessed an incredible building of community, not just for Emmaus students, but for the whole Eastern Pennsylvania area. These young people had a true spark and drive for the music created that day, and it was inspiring to feel their passion. I look forward to the East Penn arts community coming together for more events like this, programs that bring together musicians of all ages from our district and beyond. My fellow students and I have a lot of great ideas for strengthening the music program, and I'll be back at a future meeting to share some of our thoughts. But to conclude for now, I would like to thank the EPIMC. I would like to thank all of the family and friends who helped make this event happen. And finally, I would like to thank the board for allowing us to hold this event and for providing the musicians a venue to display their talents and be encouraged to continue with music as they move on to high school. If you haven't attended a student music program or haven't in a while, I encourage you to attend one of our upcoming performances at the high school. Our symphonic band concert is on Tuesday, April 30th at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium, and I'll be one of the bassoon players there. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for your comments. Our next requester is Ted Dubracki, here to talk about the proposed budget effects on proposed high school projects.
Good evening. It's kind of rare for people to come to you and ask for a bigger tax increase, but I was hoping that you would take the whole 6% that the Act 1 index would allow. I understand it's been cut to 5%. On the capital plans, the $66 million cost of the capital expense for the middle school reorganization is pretty much covered by the existing $6 million of debt service that you have in the existing budget, and it will leave about $1 million left after that expires. But nobody has said too much about what the cost of the high school is and how that fits into the long-range capital plan here. In October, costs of $200 million to $250 million were mentioned for renovations or a complete new school. So in the out years, that would actually cost about 15 to 18 million of debt service for 20 or 30 years, or the equivalent of about 2.5 or 3 mils, which is probably about a 12 or 15% increase in millage. The long-range plan right now includes full index millage for the next 4 years. So, and also all the way to 2029. Now, fortunately, that includes about 7.99 million of transfers into the capital reserve every year up to 2029. And usually you spend only about 4 to 5 million of that in the actual projects that the department maintenance department recommends. So that, fortunately, that leaves about 3 or 4 million out of the 15 to 18 million that I mentioned before. But that still leaves quite a big gap. So basically what I'm urging you is to take the full millage that's allowed by the index. I mean, it'll be actually still a relative pittance compared to what has to be done. And I don't know what's going to happen long-term as far as the high school plan. There's either going to need to be a referendum or just scale down the project or something. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Our next requester is Allison Schwam, here to talk about Emmaus Girls Wrestling.
Hi, my name is Allison Schwalm. I'm a senior at Emmaus High School and I'm on the Emmaus Girls Varsity Wrestling team. When I first heard over the loudspeaker at school that Coach Krupp and Coach Trevor were starting up a girls wrestling team, I knew it was something that I wanted to be involved in. I remember showing up to the first preseason practice not knowing what to expect, and I was honestly really nervous. I knew absolutely nothing about wrestling at that point. I didn't know how points were scored, and I didn't even know the most basic of moves. But when I walked into that wrestling room for the first time, I was accepted with open arms, being supported by all my teammates and coaches as they encouraged me to get better. After about a month of practice, I ended up making it onto the varsity team as I went into my first season. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't expect to win many matches, but that doesn't mean I didn't put my all into every match that I've wrestled. As the season came to a close, me and many other girls ended up placing at numerous tournaments. I ended up placing 4th in my weight class at the EPSD Girls Wrestling Tournament and was just short of placing at the District 11 Girls Wrestling Tournament. Needless to say, I definitely learned a lot over just a few short months. As a senior jumping into a brand new sport, I expected it to be something to keep me active throughout the school year, but little did I know it would end up being so much more than that. I've made countless new friends and learned to develop mental and physical toughness that I can and will carry with me as I graduate from Emmaus this June. I've learned that even when you're ready to throw in the towel, to continue to fight with all you have left in you, even if it's uncomfortable or seems impossible. I've learned that my anxiety does not control me and I can do hard things, even if my brain tries to convince me that I can't. I can now proudly say that wrestling has become something I'm passionate about, and it's all because of this team and these coaches who have put in the time and effort to build this program from the ground up, and I will forever be grateful for this. By supporting the funding of the Emmaus Girls Wrestling program, you'll be helping girls just like me to continue to grow stronger, not only in the sport of wrestling, but also as they move on to their lives after high school. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Christina Schwer on the importance of IA.
Good evening. I just want to say to the wrestlers, I'm so happy that you guys tried something new, and especially in a sport that is not typical for females, and it's really encouraging. So good job to you. Okay. So I am here to address the board on the proposed new 6 IA positions that will go from part-time to full-time. And I'm here to advocate for all the students who will not get the benefit of everybody being full-time. That is 149 IAs who will not be here for the full school day. As I was thinking about these 6 positions and which students would benefit the most, I was hard-pressed to find which students wouldn't need a full-time IA to help out. I was hard-pressed to think of which teachers would be fine without full-time IA help. It comes down to that every student benefits. I am in learning support, and a typical day in learning support for me has me leaving at 1:33. I am in a classroom. A lot of times the children will say, "Ms. Schwer, you're leaving already?" And I'm like, "I'm sorry, it's my time to go." Because of that, there are numerous IAs who on their own dime will spend the rest of the day in school, despite what, as a union, we telling them not to. I've had to leave students that I was a one-on-one with in this particular class, and they've had to go back to a support room or a study hall because they were not able to be in the classroom without myself or somebody else that I filled in for. I see IAs compensating for the lack of staff. I see autistic support spread thin, with many IAs managing 2 to 3 high-need students through the halls and in the classrooms. In learning support, it is not just learning support, because many learning support classes are integrated with autistic support students and IU students. So I am in a class that has 13 learning support students. 6 of them are either IU students or autistic support who need many one-on-one instruction.
30 seconds.
Okay. I am also in 2 classrooms that have approximately 30 students. 70% of them have IEPs. That's a battle to struggle with. Not a battle, but it's a struggle to make sure that you can accommodate all those students. They're all learning completely differently. They all have different needs. I overall would just like to see the board please think about not just 6, but the potential for more, because I do see the need for students.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Coberline, also on girls wrestling.
Thank you, everyone. You've heard from some brave and bold young women tonight, and you will hear from some more. My wife and I are thankful for the education that our 3 children have received in the district. We have a 24-year-old graduate and 2 20-year-old daughters. As we have raised our children, we have raised them to understand that there's no such thing as a glass ceiling, because if need be, there is always a hammer. A dream will not be deferred. For one of my daughters, as she continues to forge her own path, to write her story, this past fall, she joined the inaugural Emmaus High School's wrestling team. Participation on this team has taught Bryn, and from my observations, her teammates necessary skills for success in life related to organization, planning, time management, emotional control, stress tolerance, and goal-directed behavior. School districts across the Commonwealth, including East Penn, spend substantial resources and time trying to teach these skills. The mat has truly served as an extension of the classroom. On behalf of my wife, I'm here tonight, more than 50 years after the signing of Title IX, to empower and encourage our daughter, Bryn, and her teammates in fulfilling their dreams. This is a group of young girls, young women who know their worth, who have come to embrace their power, who have decided that their voices will be heard in effort to change things they cannot accept. They are not willing, nor should they be willing, to walk the same old road for miles and miles. Their current mission to ensure that the girls' wrestling program is sanctioned as a middle school and high school wrestling or high school sport with equity in funding and resources. They understand that time is a valuable thing. For people who have not borne witness to the inaugural season of girls wrestling, what you missed was a group of girls supported by their incredible coaches, families, and friends who did not just survive their first season, they thrived as individuals and, as most importantly, a team. They have learned to rise up like the day, reaching for the morning sun, standing tall like skyscrapers, touching the midnight stars. They rise up high like the morning waves, rising up unafraid, 1,000 times in spite of the aches, to be seen as who they are, as pioneers capable of choosing their own paths, trailblazers who inspire future generations to come, leaving it better than they found it. As they rise up, all I ask is that we look at funding who will join them. Thank you for your time. I've just also included just packets of information about the girls wrestling program, their success, and the benefits of girls wrestling. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Bryn Coberline on Emmaus Girls Wrestling.
Good evening. I am Bryn Coberlin, and I am on the girls' varsity wrestling team. As a freshman coming into high school, I didn't fully know what to expect. When I heard about the girls' wrestling team here at the high school, I decided to join to stay conditioned and see what wrestling was like. It was one of the best decisions I have ever made. I have played and still do play multiple sports, but none of them come close to the love I have for wrestling. Wrestling has pushed me like no other sport, and it has helped me grow stronger not just physically, but also mentally. I have learned skills that I don't just use on the mat, but also in life. We've created an environment of not just a team, but a family. Having a girls' wrestling team has allowed me to establish a strong group of teammates and friends who are supportive and motivating. I also have an amazing group of coaches who managed to create this team from the bottom up. They have helped push us even when we doubt ourselves and have helped shape us into the wrestlers we are today. There's a saying that once you've wrestled, everything is easy. Wrestling has taught me how to persevere and keep going even when I feel like I can't. I went from not knowing really anything about wrestling to placing third at EPCs. Wrestling teaches discipline, determination, and self-confidence, which are qualities essential for success, both on and off the mat. I have learned what it feels like to get taken down, but I have learned how to get up and keep pushing, which is not just a skill of wrestling, but a skill of life. The program has made major progress throughout the season. The funding of the Emmaus Girls Wrestling team would help us have the tools to continue making impacts in women's wrestling. With the funding, it would do more than just support a sporting program. It would help empower young women with confidence, perseverance, and skills needed beyond high school. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Ariana Coberline on girls wrestling.
Hello, good evening. My name is Ariana Coberlin, and my sister Bryn is a wrestler on the girls' wrestling team here at Emmaus High School. I may not be a part of this great team of girls, but I do know what it feels like to be a part of a team, and it is amazing. I am a part of the track and field team here at Emmaus, which has helped me to meet others and make my life more exciting. This year, I was a freshman coming into high school, and I didn't really know what to expect. I thought it was going to be hard, and I would have the same boring day every day. When I became a part of the track team, I realized how much fun high school was actually going to be. Being part of a team has led me to step out of my comfort zone and explore areas of life I didn't even know existed, which is exactly what the girls' wrestling team does. The girls who signed up for wrestling were mostly beginners and knew nothing about wrestling, yet they showed up ready to work hard every single day. They grew together and worked hard together, and their coaches continued to push them. To be part of a team like this means so much more than just being with a group of people. Being on a team teaches you life skills that will help carry you through all aspects of life, like how to step out of your comfort zone and knowing that there will always be people who have your back. There will be bumps in the road, but that is life. Yet when you hit them as a team and you work to come back as a team, you realize how valuable that team is to you and your success. When you're a part of a team, you realize nothing can stop you from sticking together and working hard, which is what this amazing team does every day, whether they are on or off the mat. It's how they were able to become such an amazing team and how these girls were able to accomplish so much during their season. Though they aren't just done now that their season is over. They're still working hard and training to become the best possible athletes they can be. This is how the girls' wrestling team has bonded them together and taught them so many valuable lessons that will carry them through their lives. Even though I'm not part of the team, being part of any team changes people's lives forever, which is exactly what the girls' wrestling team here at Emmaus is doing for young girls and will continue to do for generations. The funding of the girls' wrestling would help them to continue their program and allow more girls to have the opportunity to wrestle and know what it feels like to be part of a team. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Our last requester tonight is Haley Label on Emmaus Girls Wrestling.
Hi everyone, my name is Haley Leibel. This past season, I was in middle school on the girls team for Emmaus Wrestling. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of my team. Before I started wrestling, I was having a really rough time going through a lot of mental health struggles and not being able to find many friends who lasted for more than 2 weeks. When I joined the wrestling team, I hadn't been doing it long before I felt a sense of belonging and had a team that worked together. Wrestling has given me some of my closest friends and the strength and endurance to overcome many challenges in life. Through the season, our team has grown strong by working together, helping each other to grow and push through even when we all wanted to give up. Wrestling has helped me find a way to build self-confidence and make me feel physically and mentally better about myself. Most of these traits are attributes listed in the East Penn School District Portrait of a Graduate, and for most teen girls, these qualities are hard to come across. But I'm glad I'm finding these qualities through wrestling. I'm also proud to say that starting high school next year, I will have all of these girls to help me along the way. To wrap this up before I end, I would like to say that without the wrestling program and the coaches that we have, I'm not sure where I would be in my life right now. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you have a good night.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you to all our commenters tonight. Okay, moving forward in our agenda is the approval of the April 8th, 2024 regular board meeting minutes. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Ms. Bowman? Aye. Mr. Falegi?
Aye.
Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Klotz?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Whitney?
Aye.
Dr. Levinson?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Next is the district update. Dr. Campbell.
I just want to first start off and say that we always appreciate the feedback that we hear during public comment, whether it's about our budgeting process, as well as tonight, we certainly heard a lot from students in terms of the positive experiences that they've had here in East Penn. So we're appreciative of that feedback. I wanted to start off with some congratulations, in particular to members of the Stinger staff, which is our student publication at Emmaus High School. You might recall a few meetings ago, we had several student journalists from the Stinger come and we honored them with some certificates. And so you're going to hear again of some pretty amazing things that they continue to accomplish. Specifically, we had several Stinger members who placed at the Pennsylvania School Press Association. They recently held a competition earlier in the month of April. And these specific individuals were recognized throughout the state for their outstanding writing, including Gabe Myers, Lauren Riazzi, and Karina McCallum. In addition, there was another competition, the Pennsylvania Press Club competition, and again, we had several members of the EHS Stinger who were recognized for their outstanding work. This particular event, the Pennsylvania Press Club Annual Journalism Competition, features approximately 170 entries submitted by students from 17 different schools. And when you hear the number of Emmaus High School journalists who placed in this particular competition, certainly you'll be amazed. And several of these individuals received multiple awards. Ayan Shaw, Karina McCallum, Zoe Hewlings, Claire Sheehan, Gabe Myers, Karina McCallum again, Alice Adams, Beck Lopez, Kate Smith, Devin Helmer, Nicole Armstrong, Claire Ism, and Jessie Hahn. So again, congratulations to our student journalists from the Stinger. Earlier this evening, you heard Elizabeth, one of our student board reps, she mentioned the FBLA State Leadership Conference that was recently held in Hershey. And we had 25 students from Emmaus High School who were part of the overall 5,000 participants across the state. We are so very proud of the fact that we had 7 individuals who placed in the top 10, and we have 4 students who are qualifying to go to the National FBLA Conference, which is being held this June in Florida. Congratulations to Harrison Covell, Nick DeSantis, Sarvesh Sangudavan, and Daya Shaw. Again, they scored within the top 10, and the individuals who we have going to nationals are Cecilia Coleman, Rio Johnson, Ayan Shaw, and Sarvesh Sangudavan. So great job to our FBLA representatives. We're also very proud of the fact that just about 2 weeks ago, our Emmaus High School academic team came in third at the IU's academic competition. In addition, about 2 weeks ago, our middle school tech ed department hosted their 5th annual Girls in STEM event. This is open to middle school students, middle school girls from both Lower Macungie Middle School and Ayer. It was hosted at Ayer, and we had many community partners who came out to help our students experience various STEM opportunities and learn more about STEM careers as well. You also heard our student representatives earlier speak to the great accomplishments of our spring athletes at Emmaus High School, and we specifically wanted to mention EHS lacrosse player Will Barber, who hit his 200-goal milestone in boys lacrosse. So pretty phenomenal feat for Will. He also had quite an amazing basketball season, if I recall correctly, in terms of hitting his 1,000 points this winter. We'd like to thank the Giant Food Stores for their generous donation of over $13,000 through the Giant Feeding School Kids program. That money helps to support outstanding lunch debts for families who are in need of such financial support. And so I also want to recognize our community. For those of you who, like I am at the Giant probably every single day, when you very kindly agree to round up your bill, it's those generous donations that add up very quickly, and so we're able to, again, support our students and families in our school community. We have a lot of exciting upcoming events. Again, you heard our student representatives talk about some of the upcoming musical performances that are being held next week at Emmaus High School. If you'd like to get out for what promises to be a great evening of musical entertainment, I encourage you to check out our district and or our high school website for the exact dates and times of those concerts. Also next week, April 25th, Emmaus High School is sponsoring its annual school college fair. That will be held at the high school, both of our gyms, the main gym as well as our auxiliary gym. We have over 100 colleges, career and technical, and military universities, military representatives in attendance. And so it's a great opportunity, obviously, for our high school students, but middle school students who might be starting to think about, post-graduation plans are certainly welcome to attend as well. Also, this Friday, we are hosting our Shave for the Brave event. We have 22 teams that include almost well over 200 participants who have signed up for this event. We have 82 shavees and 19 barbers who are going to be here on premise. So it's going to be quite an amazing event that I encourage everyone to come out, and it looks like the weather is going to cooperate for us as well. You can still sign up, check out the district or high school websites. We'd also like to remind the community that we're hosting a community resource fair on May 13th. That's going to be held at Lower Macungie Middle School. It's a great way for local families to connect with various Lehigh Valley organizations to learn about the various resources that are available in our school community to support students and their families. And one final announcement is, again, I just remind families of our 5th grade students that our middle school orientation nights are coming up. And so it's an important and great time to begin to make those connections with your students' middle school. We invite you to join us for those orientation sessions, and there's a lot of important information that's posted on both of our middle school sites. There's also information that's sent home with our middle school students just as we begin to make that exciting transition from elementary to middle school. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Campbell. Any comments or questions from the board?
Yeah.
Dr. Whitney.
Yeah, I just want to go back to, if I could, on public comment, and I just want to thank the young women who came out and spoke, and the parents who came out and spoke, but particularly the young female athletes who are here. I wish I could speak to the particular issues. I don't know that I can. I don't know what the particular issues are, and I look forward to learning more, and I'm sure our administration will be responsive. But what I mostly wanted to say is it takes a lot of bravery to stand up here and say your piece, and it's a great experience. And one of you, I think, said this is what the Emmaus Portrait of a Graduate is all about, and I couldn't agree more. This is what you're talking about is exactly what we want our Emmaus graduates to be. So thank you for taking the time to come out and speak.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Whitney. Ms. Ford?
just wanted to say shout out to the wrestlers. My daughter's a wrestler, so I'm really excited about the program. And thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. I also wanted to give a huge shout out to the Stinger. They are on fire and so proud to be part of this community. And the Stinger is doing their thing. So congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Any additional comment? Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, just to echo you guys with the wrestling. As a parent, as a father of 3 girls, and some boys that have been in our youth programs, to see the girls coming out and out there working hard, dominating, it's invigorating to see them out there, and the program's just going to keep getting bigger. So it's a wonderful thing that it got started.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Any more comments? Well, thank you for the comments, and thank you, Dr. Campbell, for your report. Next item is under the budget. First item is the adoption of the 2024-2025 proposed final budget and the Senior Citizens Real Estate Tax Rebate Program for the 2024-2025 school year. Before we initiate discussion, I may have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Does the district have any comments prepared?
You'll recall that at the April 8th board meeting, we had a comprehensive update regarding the budget. At that time, we said that there likely wouldn't be any additional updates presented this evening in terms of the proposed final budget. There are no additional updates. The only update is to change the date on the cover was changed to correspond to tonight's meeting date. I just remind the board that the proposed final budget is sort of a formality and it's a legally required step in the budget development and adoption process. And again, as I mentioned last time, certainly the budget can and will change between the point that the board adopts the proposed final budget and when we finally adopt the final budget.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Saul. I'll open the floor for questions and comments from the board. Ms. Klotz.
Hi, thank you. Okay, so I've had several community members reach out to me about some proposed tax increase, and I just thought I would address that tonight. So first, let's all agree that people generally don't want to pay more taxes, other than the gentleman who spoke tonight. So in this case, if we do accept the full proposed tax increase, I believe we will have a substantial return on our investment in that continuing the beneficial programs and adding resources for our students will only help to keep East Penn a popular school district. We will be able to attract and retain educators, families, businesses, and overall keep our local community and economy healthy. So let's also break down the proposed tax increase. For the average homeowner, we're looking at under $20 a month, basically. If you look on page 49 of the long-range fiscal and capital plan, so that's about $217. Mr. Saul, please correct me if I'm wrong. So I don't know about you, but I need to be able to visualize what that increase looks like. So here are my numbers. $22 is a one-topping pizza before tax at a local pizza place. $20 is a kid's haircut before tip. $42, adult haircut with blow dry. $29 is before tax, a box of Pampers newborn diapers, 104 count. So you see where I'm going with this, I'm sure. But I just wanted to break that down for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klotz. Any additional comments from the board? Mr. Flagey.
Yeah, I kind of, in a way, I understand where Ms. Klotz is coming from in this tax increase, but I've thought about it a lot. I've talked about it a lot with people. I've got emails, this, that, the other thing, but I might have a hard time voting yes for this currently. I understand, $22 for the average person, but out there that can be tough on people, especially the way inflation is currently today. So my proposal would be to have admin go back and sharpen your pencil a little bit and, see what actually those priorities are that, dig in there deep to see what we really need. I'm an academic guy, so maybe, I understand the class size at the high school with the math and the ELA. That might be something we need. I'm not saying take all the priorities out, but my vision is to see this tax increase come down a little bit, maybe at least down to 4%. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Flaggy. Any additional comments from the board? Mr. Kelly?
Kind of echo what Mike's saying. I think for me, I'd like to see more of a black and white need and want. What are the needs for next year's? What are the wants? I think, and then the impact of a want not being on the tax increase. I don't see there being much of an impact because our needs are pretty high right now. But I think it would make me a little bit more comfortable with looking at such a high increase on the taxes. The idea that there's, that we're voting now really for years and years of compounding tax is a hard push. 1 year, one thing. But the feeling that I get with once we start this bond and we start with the projects, it's going to add up quick in the next 5 years. So I think areas that the administration might be able to classify as a want for right now would be helpful. And then is it a $2 a month want per person? In which case, that's not even the additional topping. Or is it, would it be something substantial that we could give as a savings? I think also with the connection to just the Keystone scores, I'd kind of like to see the district's plan of incorporating the middle school into the high school plans because I think it's more of a universal middle school feeding into high school connection, and I see the test scores as a connection because I think if the taxes are as high as they are and our test scores aren't backing up some of the academic the reasoning behind moving here, it would be good to have a good definite plan that incorporates the middle school. I think that's the need want idea is the only thing that's really holding me back from being able to vote on a 5% increase.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Jankowski?
So I agree with the comments that were made tonight. I'll state first and foremost, I will be voting in favor of this tonight as a part of the formality. This is not the final budget by any means. This is a required step we have to take. So I do think it's important that we do take this so that we can stay on track with the process. But I do echo the comments by my colleagues, Mr. Falegi and Mr. Cully. I would appreciate the administration, sharpening that pencil nub that you still have left and see what more can be done to lessen the impact on the community.
Thank you, Mr. Jankowski. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of brief comments, thoughts that I had taking a look at it. Obviously, for me, 5% going to be a hard push to get me there. Like Mr. Jankowski just said, it's just a formality today, and I wouldn't want to hold up the process and the timeline today by voting no. So I will be voting yes, but there's a long way to go, even though it's a month and change away between now and when we ultimately approve the final budget. I would love to see us get to 4%, like Mr. Falegi mentioned as well. I do know that there's going to be hopefully a couple of things that come into focus that through just a couple of other things beyond priorities and budget planning, but things that will come into focus that hopefully will bring that down a little bit further. But specific to priorities, the one piece that I would like us to specifically take a look at a little bit more clarity is the district psychologist position, school psychologist position. I had mentioned this last time a little bit, but we currently have trouble filling one open spot, and we're potentially making two. And I would hate to have us in a place where we have to market that a little bit more aggressively in the future and compound that. So all the priorities as they are, I fully support all the rest of them. And generally speaking, I would say I support the school psychologists as well. But when I'm looking at getting us off that 5% mark, I'm just looking at the landscape and what we have ahead of us that might be, in my mind, a little bit easier of a pill to swallow than some of the other priorities that we have out in front of us. And they are, all these priorities are going to compound. We are going to have additional priorities in the upcoming years. Like that's not going away. So to push these priorities off is only going to make it worse further on down the line. I am certainly not advocating for that. So I am going to be voting in favor today, and asking if we take a look at that one school psychologist position, and hoping that we can all work together and on the behind the scenes stuff. Hopefully, bring the overall budget down as we bring a couple things more into focus. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mrs. Bowman.
Yeah, I actually am going to take a slightly different look at this. 5% is the biggest increase that we've ever contemplated during my time on the board. Actually, during most of my years on the board, we were, I think, under 3% or under 2% even most of those years. One year was a 0. But that said, I think it's hard to look at the list of priorities that the administration put before us and say, no, we're not going to do those, knowing that we just heard from the community in a few different ways, people asking for more than what we're going to do. Asking us to make more IA positions full-time, for example, or different ways that we could spend money to have a better educational experience for our kids. To the students and parents, I think all of us on the board, that's what we want. We want our students to have a great experience. We want our staff to also have a great experience, which means not feeling overwhelmed by all of their obligations and class size and things like that. And this budget attempts to move all of those in the right direction. I don't think we can campaign that we want our students to succeed and compete with other districts and bring up our test scores if we're not going to vote to fund what we need to do to actually make those test scores happen. So these are hard decisions. If you vote for student success to some degree, yes, you're voting for higher taxes. You can't get around it. Education costs money. And so the administration convinced me of the need for these positions. Actually, I see a need for more than what was asked for, but we can't do it all at once. We can only do these things incrementally. And it seems like this was actually a compromise ask from the get-go, even though it is a big increase. That said, I do struggle with how this piece of the budget fits in with other priorities that were not brought up, particularly the high school project. Originally, I thought we were going to be having a presentation about that in January, but it never happened. And because of that, it's kind of a big question mark, not understanding how that fits into the long-term vision of the budget. And there are probably periodically people from the community ask me about things like, are we going to change the start time at the high school, various other things. All of these things obviously come with a price tag. It would be helpful to know the long-term vision of the district in terms of these priorities so I could understand how this year's budget fits into where we're going to be in the future 5 years from now. And I don't mean that financially. That's been provided through all of these presentations. But what do you want the district to look like 5 years from now? So that said, I will be voting yes for this.
Thank you, Ms. Bowman. Additional comments? Dr. Whitney?
Yeah, so if I could just start with a question, this was discussed when the priorities were brought up, but if I could get a reminder, if we could get a reminder on how much of this 5% tax increase is represented within the priorities. And if we could get a breakdown essentially of the 5% tax increase, right? I mean, there's part of that is inviolable, right? That we cannot change. There's part of it that has to do with debt service, and there's part of it that has to do with priorities. And I think it'd be really helpful and illustrative to know what that breakdown is.
This was the most recent. Sure.
Just to reiterate, in response to your first question about if the priorities do not continue as part of the budget. Currently, we're at a 5% tax increase. If all approximately $2 million of priorities were eliminated, the budget would include a 3.2% tax increase.
Okay. So 1.8%, essentially. Okay. So I think that's helpful to hear, and it's helpful to know in the context of that the 5% is not all additional asks. I think that's helpful for the community to know as well, and it's helpful for me to keep it in mind. So with that said, like some of my colleagues have said, I will vote for this tonight. I will vote for the preliminary final budget as a formality and as to keep the process moving along. I'm not yet ready to sign off on a full 5% tax increase. And I guess I have lingering questions, and I think Mr. Kelly really articulated what was in my mind, which is a difference in need versus want. And I know that that's in some ways an unanswerable question because, of course, to those who are in the schools every day, every one of these asks is a need. And I'm sure that there's a case to be made that every one of these asks is a need. But budgeting is number one, it's a statement of values and vision, and it's also a statement of what hard choices we're willing to make and can make and still remain a quality institution, a quality district. And I've said this before in another way, but I'll say it again. And when I look at the list of priorities, and I really spent some time, thinking it over, and as an outsider, as someone who's not in the buildings every day, I see this list of priorities, and it speaks to me as something of a crisis. I mean, we have interventionists, STEP programs, student advisors, behavior analysts, psychologists, special education teachers, instructional assistants, part-time to full-time instructional assistants, school counselor. Then we have a couple of teacher positions within that stew and an assistant principal position. And that is an enormous majority of these priority positions are, again, to my eyes, simply to handle what must be, if I'm looking at this objectively, a near crisis of staffing in terms of handling the types of mental and emotional health issues that are in our schools. And it makes me, it makes me ask the question, is this all we need? Do we need, just to keep up a baseline of handling what we need to handle? Is this all that we need? Do we need double this? Do we need half of this? And that's the piece that it's just, I feel like that question has not been adequately answered yet. I saw both the priority presentations. I met all the amazing people that came up to the podium and spoke about the amazing work that they do, and I don't question any of that. But I have to question, as a school board member, how much of this could we do without in order to and still have a functioning school or a functioning set of schools? And that's, I think, the hard question that I want to see addressed and answered a little bit in future budget discussions in order to really understand whether or not, in the end, I can support a full 5% increase. So that's all I'll say.
All right, thank you, Dr. Whitney. Additional, Ms. Ford.
Yes, thank you. Well, first I want to thank Mr. Saul. This is a lot of work, a lot of work. When I hear the 5%, just like everyone else, my first thought is, wow, where will I personally pull that from? We all have budgets and things that we have to keep up with, and if we have families, every penny counts. But I look over the list and the priorities that have been put forth, and I go through that list and I say, which one would I want my child, if she were still in school, to do without? And I couldn't pick one. And so I think in order for me to be able to continue to look in the faces of the community members who expect us to care for their students and to ensure that they have what they need, it's hard for me at this time not to say yes. Yes, I want to hear more. I would love to think that there's a way we can reconfigure to get it a little lower. But I also know that we cannot put a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches. And so tonight I will be voting yes.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Any other comments to add? Mr.
Sorry.
Kelly?
I know in the agenda, it talked about the tax rebate program and to be done at a future time, but that's, I think that's a lingering component for me, of the senior citizens and the ones that are going to be affected the most by this, and how that helped, how that's helped in the past, how many, if the requirements are meeting enough of our senior citizens, that it's actually making a difference. And so maybe just an idea of what we've given in the past and how that's helped, and then what we're able to do to lessen that burden for that particular group. That would be a great thing. And I realize you've already pointed out that that's going to happen in the future, but I'd like to see that.
Did the administration want to comment on that?
We'll gather the information and bring it back to the board.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? I'll just close that a lot of what I've thought about has already been covered by my colleagues, but I will just go back to the initial things that Mr. Saul addressed when we began this discussion, is that this vote is a formality to keep the process moving. It's important that we do keep the process moving, so I will be voting in favor of this motion to adopt the proposed final budget, and then also the senior citizen rebate tax program, which does help seniors, and there will be data available to understand that. I also will say that, we have another 7 weeks before we're slated to have a final vote. Since I've been on the board and my colleagues have been on the board, the process does continue, and I'm expecting and hoping for further refinement so that we will come off of that 5% and provide, some better comfort level for people, who understand that, we are looking closely at, what the revenue expenditure outlays are, and, what it is that's important that we need to carry forward as part of this budget for next year. Okay, with comment? Sure.
I would, I just wanted to perhaps not specifically, but more generally reflect on some of the feedback that we heard and appreciate from the board this evening, and certainly recognize and are very mindful about the impact of a 5% tax increase on our school community. Without a doubt, we are. There were several board members who questioned or wanted to know more about the priorities and the, described as wants versus needs. And so without going too far in the weeds, and I think we spoke to this at the onset of the budget priority presentations in terms of how those needs are identified. And so we work very closely with our building and our district leaders. This process begins actually the fall of each year. And we identify, in our mind, needs and priorities are synonymous. And so we have conversations and we identify what those needs are at the building level as well as at the district level. I will share with you the initial priority list that came forward to our administrative team was double what you see here. And so that's not intended to at all, that's just our reality. And so we then go through a really difficult collaborative process of going through each individual priority that is requested to identify how it's aligned to our district goals and priorities as identified in the comprehensive plan, the impact on student learning. I really appreciate the fact that several board members articulated when we talk about our program, it's about being attentive to core programs, a tiered system of support that includes academics, but also certainly takes a look at behaviors, social and emotional learning, and mental health. And so I think when you see, hopefully when you look at all of the priorities that are then brought forward for us, they aren't wants or like this would be nice to have. They absolutely are what our administration brings forward collectively as needs and priorities that address ultimately what it is that we need for our students and our staff to be more successful. I would think as well as you reflect on the work that we've done over the past several years, you're hearing certainly some commonalities in terms of its core programs, its regular and or special education teachers. At times, that's just due to sheer growth in enrollment in certain populations or in certain areas. Other times, it's those tier 2 supports in terms of interventionists. You knew that last year, certainly the elementary focus in terms of those ELA interventionists. And these are certified teachers who are working with students with an identified need, and they need some additional support in addition to what they're getting from their classroom teacher. So those interventionists have become a priority for the organization. I know that I also shared as we look to the future, math interventionists are going to be another layer of need that we anticipate bringing forward. Again, positions that we've historically been able to support with ESSER funds, and we have the data that indicate qualitative and quantitatively that indicates to us that those positions are helping to move the mark in terms of student learning. That was really our intention in terms of bringing people who are in the role to come during the budget priority presentation. It wasn't necessarily to appeal to emotion, although I think we all agree that we're really fortunate to have some amazing individuals who served in those roles. We invited them because they, better than any administrator, can articulate to the board and the community the work they do to positively impact kids. And that was really the intention, so that they can accurately paint the picture of how they make a positive impact on our students' lives on a daily basis. And so, again, I just wanted to kind of speak to the wants versus needs, because from an administrative team perspective, I think I speak on behalf of our district team, the priorities and the needs are synonymous. This isn't just a wish list or, oh, it would be nice to have. I know there was also, and rightly so, conversation in terms of the staffing priorities that we've identified as part of that grade level realignment. And I can appreciate, it's actually been discussed by the board, so I value that feedback. I can appreciate that some might say those priorities are logical priorities to pull out and table for a future year. I think Mr. Saul pointed out the fact that financially we just have to be very mindful about how that sets us up for future years, because we did present to the board a multi-year plan of additional staffing that we are recommending as part of the realignment. And so to pull something out from one year and delay it for another year just really sets us up for a potential situation in the future that in which we know that tax increase might be well beyond what the community is able to sustain. So I put that out there sort of as healthy caution of what might be a natural tendency to say, those two positions aren't for next year, so can't we pull them out and get to them at another time? And I will also say, again, I think I mentioned this as part of our budget priority presentation. We're really appreciative of the fact that the committee with whom we worked as part of that realignment challenged in a great way our administrative team to be thoughtful and strategic in terms of how we can phase in those positions over the course of several years so that we're mindful about the financial impact on our school community. The other reflection that I have is, and again, I appreciate the feedback and the interest in knowing, I'm going to say more of understanding the flow of changes in a program at the high school. We had a lot of conversation recently with the board in terms of changes that we're making at Emmaus High School. We talked about the Targeted Support and Improvement Plan, the TSI plan, that includes but isn't limited to some changes in math. And then certainly I can appreciate when we're talking about a math teacher for the high school, there might be a perception that we're focusing on one cog of the wheel without being mindful of the whole system. And so I just also remind the board and the community that we really have been strategic and comprehensive with our approach to looking at curriculum and student improvement and student achievement, starting back in 2022. And I say this not as if we expect everyone in the community to necessarily remember, but in 2022, members of our Office of Teaching and Learning came and gave a presentation in terms of math needs and vision for work that we were going to do. We came back last winter in 2023. Again, members of our Office of Teaching and Learning actually had members of our middle school here who talked about what they've identified as needs and changes that they were making in the short term. And then just this past February, again, through both the TSI as well as Mr. Mahalik from our Office of Teaching and Learning came and gave that continued through line of work that we were doing in a systematic way in math. And so I'm certainly happy to reshare some of those, some of that work that's been done with regard to math. But I just say it publicly to dispel any perception that changes in math are happening only at the high school and that we're focusing just on the high school while ignoring a system of students who are coming through. So thank you for letting me reflect aloud.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Campbell. All right, with no further comments, Ms. Allen, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Falegi?
No.
Ms. Ford?
Yes.
Mr. Jankowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Klotz?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Whitney?
Aye.
Ms. Bowman?
Aye.
Dr. Levinson?
Aye.
8 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Moving on to personnel. May I have a motion to accept the personnel agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Ms. Klotz?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Dr. Whitney?
Aye.
Ms. Bowman?
Aye.
Mr. Falegi?
Aye.
Dr. Levinson?
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Before we move on, I believe Dr. Campbell has some comments to make.
Just a brief recognition and appreciation of two outstanding members of our high school team who submitted their letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement, including Ms. Kelly Bauer, who has 38 years total in education, which is a pretty remarkable career. And we're fortunate that the last half or 17 years of her career have been here at Emmaus High School. Again, she served as our librarian and has certainly helped to transition from maybe that traditional role of librarian to that of more of a media specialist and really helping to make our library at the high school, the hub of collaboration and a welcoming place for students. In addition, Amy Yastrop is retiring as a special education teacher at Emmaus High School. Upon her retirement, she'll have over 30 years in education, of which 25 have been here at Emmaus High School. So we're very appreciative of the commitment and dedication of both of those individuals to our students and really to the East Penn community.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Campbell. Next item is under business operations. I'm going to take this in three pieces. I'd first like to get a motion on items A through C together.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Mr. Jankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Whitney.
Aye.
Ms. Bowman.
Aye.
Mr. Falegi.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Item D is an item of real estate. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Whitney.
Aye.
Ms. Bowman.
Aye.
Mr. Falegi.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski.
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
And finally, item E is an update to the school crossing guard agreement with the Borough of Emmaus. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Whitney.
Aye.
Ms. Bowman.
Aye.
Mr. Falegi.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
And with that, I'd just like to recognize the Borough of Emmaus for working with us to come up with a solid agreement for the next 4 years. Next item on the agenda is curriculum. I'm going to take this in two parts. Item A, educational conferences. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Whitney.
Aye.
Ms. Bowman.
Aye.
Mr. Falegi.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Item B is the 2024-2027 Special Education Comprehensive Plan. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions from the board?
Oh, just
Ms.
a
Bowman.
question. So this has been posted, and did we get any comment on this?
We have not received any feedback or comment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Dr. Whitney.
Aye.
Ms. Bowman.
Aye.
Mr. Falegi.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you again to the team that assembled that comprehensive plan, and I look forward to getting regular updates on how it's going. Next item is policy. There's a third reading for the new set of new policies and updates. It's, to my knowledge, there have been no changes. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? All right, seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Ms. Bowman.
Aye.
Mr. Falegi.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Whitney.
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Other educational entities. Item A is to approve the 2024-2025 CLIU Special Education Facilities Plan. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Are there any comments or questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Allen, please call the roll.
Ms. Bowman.
Aye.
Mr. Falegi.
Aye.
Ms. Ford.
Aye.
Mr. Jankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Ms. Klotz.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Dr. Whitney.
Aye.
Dr. Levinson.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you, Ms. Allen. Item B, we have a report on the CLIU latest board meeting from Dr. Whitney.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Levinson. CLIU Board of Directors met on April 15th, relatively light agenda, so this will be a short report. We did get a presentation on the Multiple Disabilities Support Functional Program, or MDSF program, serves 56 students across the IU's area, which I think maybe a dozen or so of those students are East Penn students. These are students, as the name implies, with multiple disabilities and a diverse set of needs, needing multiple levels of support. We had the presentation was fascinating and really showed some of the ways that assistive technology is being employed and improved all the time in order to give these children the kinds of adaptive equipment they need to communicate. There are the Parkland School District, which hosts a couple of the classrooms for the MDSF students, does a lot to integrate and buddy programs and things like that for their students in the regular education to interact with these students and to sort of play games with them and help them do things in their daily life. And so that really is an incredible support to these students so that they can sort of interact with kids outside of their classes. So that was the overview of the area that we got from special education, special programs supervisors in the IU. And then items of business was primarily the general operating budget, which our district approved, was unanimously approved across all 14 districts, so that will move forward. And then we approved the calendars for central office board meetings and payroll for the 24-25 school year. And that is my report.
Thank you, Dr. Whitney. Are there any questions? Okay, I appreciate your report as always. There are no other items. We do have two announcements. The first is we held an executive session this evening where we discussed matters of safety and security and matters of negotiations. Our next regular board meeting is on Monday, May 13th at 7:30 here in the boardroom. And with no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Good night. Thank you very much.